In a tiny village in Ireland, one man walked away with over $600,000 in broad daylight. No gun, no mask, no violence. And when the police came knocking, there was absolutely nothing they could do, because everything he had done was completely legal. His name was Barney Curley, a gambler so feared that bookmakers would shut down their entire operations the moment they heard he was nearby. A man who didn't just find the loopholes in the system, he turned them into weapons. This is the incredible true story of 1975, known to the world as the Yellow Sam Betting Coup. Welcome back to the channel. June 26, 1975. 26 kilometers outside Dublin sits a small, quiet village, Bellewstown. On this particular day, the racecourse was alive. Crowds buzzing, bookies setting up their boards, horses warming up, bets being placed on every runner. But Barney Curley was nowhere to be seen. He was crouched in thorny bushes inside the racecourse, watching everything through a pair of binoculars. Why was he hiding? Because if the bookies spotted him, even for a second, they'd know something was wrong. They might cancel all bets. They might shut the whole thing down. Barney's reputation in the gambling world was that dangerous. His mere presence at a track sent shockwaves through the industry. But what he was about to pull off today, this was the biggest move of his entire life. To understand Barney, you have to go back to the beginning. His father, Charlie Curley, was a greyhound trainer and a gambler. Charlie had a trick. He'd drug his slowest dog right before a race to make it run faster, then bet everything on it. The bookies never saw it coming. Young Barney knew every detail of his father's scheme. One day, when Barney was just 15 years old, Charlie handed him a piece of meat laced with medicine and said, "Give this to the dog." Barney nodded, but he didn't give it to Charlie's dog. He quietly fed it to a different dog, one he had secretly placed his own bet on. In the next day's race, Charlie's dog lost. Charlie lost a decent chunk of money. Barney walked away with his first few pounds, the equivalent of around $500 today. The man who started his gambling career by outwitting his own father, you can only imagine what he was capable of doing to the rest of the world. In 1956, when Barney was 16, everything fell apart. Charlie tried his usual trick one last time. He drugged his slowest greyhound, placed all his money on it, and fate had other plans. The drug caused an adverse reaction. The dog didn't just lose, it fell and broke its spine. In a single moment, Charlie's world collapsed, and so did the entire family's. Barney had to drop out of school. He went to work in a factory as a laborer, spending the next 18 months paying off his father's debts alongside him. Every penny they earned went straight to the bookies. Barney witnessed firsthand how gambling could swallow a family whole. After that, he tried everything. He opened a betting shop, then a pub. He even tried music management. He smuggled Gillette razor blades across the border until one day, gunfire broke out at the border crossing and Barney ran and never looked back. Through it all, one thing kept pulling him: horse racing, gambling, the game. So by the early 1970s, he made a decision. He was going all in professionally. Before we go further, let's quickly understand how betting odds work, because this is the key to everything Barney did. When you place a bet on a horse race, the bookmaker sets the odds based on how likely a horse is to win. A fast, strong horse that's expected to win, low odds, maybe 1 to 2. Bet £1, win £2. A slow horse with a terrible record, high odds, maybe 1 to 20. Bet £1, and if it wins, you walk away with £20. The greatest payout always goes to the person who bets on the horse nobody believed in. Charlie had spent his life manipulating this system with medicine. Barney was about to manipulate it with something far more powerful: information and timing. By 1975, Barney's reputation had grown to the point where bookies watched his every move. If his name was linked to a horse, the odds would instantly drop. If he walked into a racecourse, betting would freeze. He was trapped by his own notoriety, and he was drowning in £12,000 of debt. There was only one way out. So, Barney reached out to an old contact and asked for a horse with the worst possible track record. That horse was named Yellow Sam, which also happened to be his father Charlie's old nickname. Yellow Sam's racing record was embarrassing. In its last 9 races, it had finished no better than 8th place. But Barney knew something the bookies didn't.
Yellow Sam was a different horse on firm ground. Put him on the right surface, in the right conditions, and he was fast, very fast. So, what did Barney do? He deliberately raced Yellow Sam in the wrong conditions. Soft ground, unsuitable tracks, races the horse had no business being in. He tanked the horse's official rating on purpose, making it eligible for lower-level handicap racing. In the eyes of the betting world, Yellow Sam was a hopeless case. Barney chose his target race carefully, the Mount Henor Handicap Hurdle at Bellewstown Racecourse on June 26, 1975. But the location wasn't random. The entire Bellewstown venue, the whole thing, had exactly one public telephone booth. Back then, betting shops across the country would take bets hours before a race and stay connected with the bookies at the track via telephone. If too much money suddenly started flowing onto one horse, the shops would call the bookies and the odds would be slashed immediately. But there was one rule that Barney had spotted. Once the race officially started, the odds were locked in, frozen. Whatever the odds were at that moment, that's what you'd be paid. Barney's plan was simple in concept, genius in execution.
Block that one phone booth. Cut the bookies off from the betting shops. Keep Yellow Sam's odds at 1 to 20 and flood the country with bets, all at the last possible second. If it worked, he'd turn £15,000 into £300,000. For this, Barney needed people he could completely trust. He quietly recruited 300 individuals from across Ireland, friends, associates, trusted contacts. Each person received a cash envelope containing between £50 and £300 in cash. Their instructions were simple. Go to your nearest betting shop, wait for the signal, and place every penny on Yellow Sam. Nobody knew who else was involved. Nobody knew the full scale of the plan. Only Barney held the complete picture. He had poured his entire life savings, £15,000, into this operation. If it failed, he wouldn't just lose the money. The weight of debt could send him to prison. This was all or nothing. Ireland opened for business hours before the race. Yellow Sam, with his miserable record, sat at odds of 1 to 20. Nobody was touching that horse. Then, exactly 25 minutes before the race was set to begin, a man named Benny walked casually into the single phone booth at Bellewstown Racecourse. He picked up the receiver, and he started crying. Not just sniffling, full, heaving, heartbroken sobs. He told anyone who would listen that his aunt was gravely ill. She was on her deathbed. He needed to speak with her. He couldn't hang up. A queue began to form outside the booth. Some people felt genuine sympathy. Others grew impatient. One bookie in the queue was getting more agitated by the minute, desperate to call his betting shop. Barney had given Benny one final instruction. If anyone tries to physically take that phone from you, smash it. Destroy the whole thing if you have to. But under no circumstances does anyone else make a call from that booth. For 25 long minutes, Benny cried into the phone, talking to his dying aunt, who, of course, did not exist. Across Ireland, 300 people walked into betting shops in the final minutes before the race and placed their bets on Yellow Sam. All at once, all at the same time. But the betting shops couldn't reach the track to warn the bookies. Every time they dialed Bellewstown, the line was busy. The moment the starting gates opened and the race officially began, the odds locked. Yellow Sam 1 to 20. Benny set down the receiver, wiped his eyes, and stepped out of the booth, weeping as he disappeared into the crowd. On the track, Yellow Sam, on firm ground in the right conditions, finally unleashed, ran the race of his life. Even the race favorite, Silver Road, couldn't touch him. Yellow Sam cleared all 13 hurdles and crossed the finish line first, winning by 2.5 meters. And hidden in the bushes at the edge of the racecourse, Barney Curley watched it all through his binoculars. When the dust settled and the bookies realized what had happened, there was chaos. They tracked down Benny. They interrogated him. But Benny simply said it was a miracle. His aunt had made a full recovery, and he refused to identify Barney at all. The police were called. Investigators looked into every angle, and they found nothing. No crime had been committed. A man had used a public phone. 300 people had placed legal bets. A horse had won a race fair and square.
Barney Curley had broken exactly 0 laws. The bookies, furious, humiliated, had no choice but to pay out. Barney's £15,000 investment returned £300,000. In today's money, roughly $3.5 million, or over $4 million. The bookies paid it out in £1 notes. It took 108 sacks to carry it all. Overnight, Barney Curley became a legend across Ireland and the United Kingdom. After the Yellow Sam coup, the bookmaking industry rewrote its rules. Large bets now required a minimum 30-minute window. They closed the loopholes Barney had walked right through. But Barney wasn't finished. He pulled off similar coups in 2010 and 2014 at 70 years old, proving his mind never slowed down. Barney Curley passed away on May 23, 2020 at the age of 81 after a battle with cancer. The horse racing world remembered him not as a cheat, but as a genius. They called him the Robin Hood of racing, because on one hand, he had the mind to outsmart an entire industry, and on the other, he had the heart to give much of that money away to those who needed it most. He didn't steal, he didn't cheat, he simply saw something everyone else had missed and had the courage to act on it. That's the story of Barney Curley and the Yellow Sam Betting Coup. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. See you in the next one.